Hey everyone, it's Jaeyoung here, and welcome to the Overwatch patch 1.40 overview. Firstly, I apologize for the voiceover cutting off in certain parts in my last video. I kind of messed up a noise gate setting thing, and it was kind of super tedious to go back and fix everything. Hopefully it won't happen again. So this is not a very big patch, so let's get this done. These kind of patch videos are usually finished a day or two before the live update of the patch, and while it doesn't happen often, sometimes Blizzard will ship out additional changes or new ones to live that previously weren't on the PTR. With changes like these being impossible to predict, I apologize in advance if these changes are different or not included at all in the video.
Oh, this is my jam!
So there are some changes to Bastion's self-repair ability this patch. The first is that it no longer consumes its resource bar while Bastion is at full health. In a strange way, this quality of life buff is kind of neat in that you can now just hold down your repair button as you're repositioning or just sitting around waiting for the next fight. I guess in a way it's like an anticipatory sort of healing thing, just like how Ana used to be able to pre-heal allies that were already at full health. But the trade-off now is that Bastion now correctly initiates a recovery time of 0.25 seconds when cancelling self-repair with weapon fire. In my opinion, this change in particular affects tank mode the most because players are now unable to efficiently take advantage of the time between shots by healing up. The added delay now makes it clunky for Bastion to self-repair between shots, so players will now have to choose between offense or defense. Overall, I do feel like this is pretty much a nerf, but hey, pre-healing is pretty cool, I guess. Okay, so last patch, Zarya and Symmetra both got some pretty significant changes to their beams in that they now properly deal damage to small targets that are easy to lose track of, such as squishies like Tracer. This obviously resulted in it being much easier to shred down said targets than ever before. So probably in response to this increase in their base damage comes nerfs to them this patch, and we'll start with Symmetra. Her Photon projector's primary fire beam's width has been cut in half from 0.3 to 0.15 meters, and subsequently her beam's DPS per level has also been lowered from 65, 130, 195 to 60, 120, and 180. So the reduction in beam width honestly just sucks the most for players with spotty aim, as you used to be able to just about graze enemies with your beam and still make the damage count despite the beam visually not even really connecting. On bigger tank targets, this isn't really too big of a deal because, you can't really miss them, they're really big. But on smaller targets, this is definitely going to be a bit of a pain. In regards to the damage reduction at level 1, it's not really that big of a deal, but as you ramp to level 2 and 3, it's definitely a bit of a sore spot. The 8% decrease in max damage is likely in response to how devastatingly powerful Symmetra can be, particularly at higher ladder ranks, which she just eats up a whole bunch of barriers and gets fully charged before vaporizing the enemy team. Overall, these nerfs seem kinda reasonable, particularly to change the beam width, as it's at least something players can actively adapt to, as opposed to the nerfs to her beam damage. In a similar vein, Zarya's particle cannon beam width no longer scales with energy from 0.1 to 0.2 meters and is now always at 0.15 meters. Additionally, the max DPS of the beam has also been lowered from 190 to 170. So the removal of beam width scaling with energy is okay, I guess. If you had bad bubble management, which probably means that you're not that great at Zarya anyway since it's an essential part of her kit, you'll be kinda happy that it's now easier to tickle your enemies at lower energy. But if you're some kind of alien monster with great bubble management and are constantly brimming with energy, you'll be kinda pissed. Though I do think that for the majority of the player base, this is good. On the other hand, I'm not that big a fan of the damage nerf. Unlike Symmetra's beam that has hard implemented levels of damage, Zarya's damage scales linearly with her energy, and unless I'm mistaken, a max damage reduction is a nerf across all energy levels between 100 and 0. I'm not too sure if this nerf is completely justified because her pick rate, particularly at the higher levels, isn't even really that great, though she still is viable in certain situations. A max energy Zarya player totally deserves to be able to dish out lethal damage, but I guess some of us can agree to disagree. Moving on, let's talk about our newest hero Sigma, who has seen a significant amount of playtime at the professional level in the past few weeks. And as is tradition, with a new hero comes patch changes to it, so let's take a look at them. Sigma's Hypersphere's max explosion damage has been reduced from 35 to 30. So this is his primary fire, right? And it's honestly still pretty strong even with this nerf. The direct hit damage of the spheres remains unchanged at 60 damage each, and the players will at most lose on up to 10 damage from the blast radius. It's still a fun and versatile ability, so it's honestly not too big of a worry, but on the flip side, whatever damage the Hyperspheres lost has been added to his Accretion ability. Rock, as some people like to call it, has its max explosion damage increased from 50 to 60. Once again, this does not affect the overall direct hit damage of 80, but come on, it's a big ass rock exploding, so it seems fitting that the damage it causes around it should be a little bit meaner. His ultimate Gravitic Flux has received a nerf, increasing its intro cast time from 0.4 to 0.6 seconds. Okay, aside from being a little strange to pronounce, it's a pretty strong ultimate and can be really devastating in the right player's hands. This change offers a little bit more counterplay at the start of the ability that's already hard enough to counter. And on a side note, there is now a toggle option added for deploying Sigma's experimental barrier, which I don't think I really need to show. But while we're on the topic, Sombra's hack now causes the barrier to deactivate once Sigma is affected by the hack. Previously, hack would affect Sigma but leave his deployed barrier untouched. This makes the interaction more in line with hack affecting abilities that can be freely altered with the push of a button, as opposed to abilities that are deployed. Okay, the last change this patch is a bug fix to Orisa's halt that caused players to be thrown further than intended when escaping the pulling effect of the ability. So you might have seen or experienced this bug before when playing against an Orisa. It's when you're, say, like playing Mei against her and get halted upwards, but you manage to trigger your ice block as you're being pulled up and somehow slingshot gloriously into the sky. But anyway, yeah, that's a bug and it has been around for ages. I'm not even sure when exactly the bug started or if it's been around since Orisa was introduced, but I don't know. It was a pretty fun interaction, but I guess for the sake of consistency it had to be fixed. So, boo-hoo. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and thank you also for the overwhelming response to the last video. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to everyone for the support. Take care, everyone.